Hello, and welcome to episode 163 of Live Drawing. Today we're going to be working on page 11, working on the screens for making this page look like a vintage comic page. As you can see, that's the paper texture right there. I've got a series of layers here that I don't know if you can see or not, but that's me toggling the paper. And here I'll show you what it looks like with the Here's what we had been working on the stream. This is what the toned page looks like. Hey Ethan, good to see you, man. I'm sorry to hear about your news. I hope you're doing well, or managing, or however things can get better for you. But yeah, this is what the pages start out like as far as the tones go, and then we drop in our screens. And these are all done, as you can see, where those edges are for the colors that we defined are what we use for the screens. And then when we eventually put our paper on, that's what it looks like. And I like to also have a separate section for white. As you can see, that's where we get our top little glimmers and stuff. A new Wolverine game. I saw some previews for it. I don't play much in the way of video games anymore, but I remember playing one for PlayStation back in the day. That was pretty cool. Are you looking forward to it, or are you a big gamer, perhaps? Hey, Daniel. I'm glad it got there safely. Sorry it took a little bit to get in the mail. Things are sometimes hectic. I know it's that way for everybody, but this is how I use the magic wand to select those color areas that we had defined. I'm going to turn up the tolerance a little bit. Let's make it 25. That should do it. But yeah, sorry for the wait. Oh, he's your favorite character? Yeah, he's a cool character, so I can see why. Hey, Martha, it's good to see you. First one in a couple of weeks, I know. It's been a little bit. It was nice. I went down to visit some family down in New Orleans. Went to one of my favorite comic stores down there, actually. If you're ever in the area, I recommend checking it out. Howl's Moving Castle. That's good stuff. I like Miyazaki quite a bit. Yeah, my favorite Miyazaki is still Princess Mononoke, but I like a lot of his films and mangas. Nausicaa is a good one. That's another good one. Crescent City Comics. Yeah, it's an excellent store. I highly recommend it for anybody who's in the area. They've moved locations, so just make sure that if you go to check them out, you catch their latest jam. Hey, Brian, good to see you, man. Yeah, we're getting there. Oh, that sounds infuriating, Martha's. The pages you made were turned out to be different sizes. It's a bummer. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sure I'd be able to figure it out, but I don't know what your parameters are for resizing. Sometimes with pages, I'll have too much or not enough background, and I'll have to draw some stuff digitally. That happened on this project where I actually went in and drew some things digitally just to so that the pages fit properly on the page or to the crop or to the cut or whatever need be. Yeah, how's moving castles? Good stuff. I hesitate to say a date just because every time I do, something comes up, and something is in the process of coming up. But I'm working every week. We've gone through all of the lettering. We're on to the final stage of the coloring, and when the final stage of coloring is done, I will have an understanding of when that could be. Hmm. Interesting. Um, Actually, let's switch to our yellow pressure tint. A little bit in here, and there. It's just a little bit of a buzz. Okay, Akira is your favorite anime. I use a lot of keystrokes, and I can't really what's the word? Narrate every gesture. Otherwise, we will be here all night. But let's just put it as I'm using some selection tools to select and deselect the needed areas of the the work. Yellow in there, and this is a solid yellow. We talked about it a little bit on a couple streams ago that there are different Hey Brian, it's both. I've read so many comics and I've studied them for the purposes of learning coloring and lettering and all these things that I would say that it's a combination thereof. I have a stack of comics right next to me. You know, I'm always looking at stuff, and I actually do scan bits of old comics in there. Like that's part of the secret sauce, if you will. And I've already, when we did because like this coloring, I talked about this just at the very beginning. I planned it from the beginning, and when we did this coloring, this was all only for the purpose of picking out where the screens went. Because like if you take a look here, I'll just grab a pen tool. Like you can see where the shading is. Oops, you can't see that. That would be bad. Like those little shading bits there. I'll make this disappear and just look in the same spot, and you'll be able to see the shading bits like in the eyes and stuff. I haven't finished everything up in here yet, but you can see most of it. Let's just do it right now. Like you'll see here where those shaded parts are. I'll grab my wand tool, hit those, and it picks them all out, which is great. And you can see, because of how we planned it, it does it through the whole page. So it saves me time having made those selections already. So I can just go over, grab the appropriate screen, and just drop it right on top. I'm actually going to lighten that one a little bit right there. Just drop it right on top. And I can do it for every little bit of Professor Prawn that has that color. I can go in here, just boom, 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 just drop it all on. And then when I deselect it, you can see like right where those lines were. I've got those screens lined up there perfectly, and it just saves time. When you zoom in, you can really see like just the wonderful warmth and the textures of everything. And I talk about it in the little preview of the video in the context of the description. And here we've got this solid magenta. So what we'll do is we will delete the solid magenta like that. And then we'll go over here, we'll grab a nice little, let's see what 3 looks like. Let's see what M3 looks like. I think it needs to be M4. Perfect. And we just drop it all in. Drop it all in, right, like that. Boom, boom, boom. There's a little bit over here. And then those become the highlights. Like all of this coloring was planned from the beginning, even when I was doing the little sketches of the pages. So it was kind of like a growing process. And I have, and it's fascinating because different colors color differently because they use different printers. So like I've gone in and I've got a base set of tools that I bought from a company that makes them, but I've gone in and modified them all. And I've changed them to where if I wanted to do a comic that looks like it was produced in the 40s, I can do that. If I want to do a comic in the 60s, the 70s, independent comics, Charlton Comics had a different screen pattern. Like I've gone in and modified all this stuff in Photoshop. So like while you can go pick out, brushes from some companies that are out there, they're not going to be the same as mine. And I scan in bits of old comics and stuff. I will scan in like cool things that I think look like there we go, that are just cool ways that the printer is messed up. We're getting there. It's a process, and I knew from the beginning that it was a labor-intensive one. So that's why I just keep working. Martha says, I downloaded some different apps, but nothing seems to work. Did I teach myself or did I take a class? I took classes in college, and I taught myself other different techniques. And I had friends that are just phenomenal colorists that, showed me all the tips and tricks. Like Nate Lovett was instrumental in me learning digital coloring in high school, which was 1.5 million years ago. For those of you unfamiliar, it was 10 million years ago. And then you also you learn the formulas, like this color, this gray here. I know that I need a neutral light color. So it is, in fact, an equal mixture of cyan, magenta, and yellow for his jacket. So we have cyan, which is right there. See, that's the lightest cyan that there is in these screens at this size and these dimensions. And then we need a magenta of equal measure, which you'd think, oh, how is that going to neutralize out? You've just added the warm and cool together. It's kind of purple. Well, what we do is we go in and we add the yellow, and then that will neutralize it so that it is gray. Pretty nifty, right? You're learning print techniques tonight. It's more about manipulating printing than it is coloring at this point. The coloring decisions were done a long time ago in the process. I got to turn off a setting that is on, so I'm in trouble. There we go. And as you can see, we have this paper texture here. I've scanned in so many different types of paper, semi-gloss, vintage paper, like the margins of old comics, and I've pieced them together so that they look like the right paper stock from the day, and that's what I did. And then we grab one of the shadow areas. We get a darker color. Let's go with a nice cyan. And then actually in the highlight areas, we're going to delete, because the highlight is a yellow. So what we want is we want to go to this area here where it's a highlight. Did I make a mistake? Oh, I've got to turn down the tolerance. That was my mistake. There we go. Where we can delete the cyan and magenta. And then we have just a yellow highlight if we want it. Or do we want it white? Let's just take a look and see how it looks in white. The original plan was to have the yellow. I actually think it looks better just in a solid color. And that happens like that, And we can kind of freelance as we go, the little shading on his eye like that, And it's looking at, this is just looking at old comics too. George Russo's is a colorist that I look at who did analog coloring back in the day. Marie Severin. There's just so many from especially the different eras of coloring that I'm drawing from. What do we have here? We've got that done. We've got those done. We've got to do the shoulder gear for Undersea Hero, which you can see is that purple color. And I'm going to fill it in with the flat first. And we're going to start off with a solid cyan, which is just a flat color. And like I said, I've modified all these brushes now, so they're all different. And I've while it seems like 1,000,000 years worth of work, we're doing okay. And it's going to be worth it, because this is going to be a work that when we get this done, I'm going to be very proud of it. So I think that might be too dark. Yeah, we're going to go to C4, which is a 40% cyan screen. Who's my favorite character from Undersea Hero? My God, that's a difficult question. It depends on the scene. I mean, I think that everybody likes Lord Crackus. I think he's the one that everybody likes. I like Radio Bear a lot. He's a B character, but Undersea Hero is important, just as a main character. I don't know. I like the whole ensemble. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone to the trouble. And as you folks know, it has been quite a bit of trouble. This is a magenta 3 with a cyan 4 screen, and you can see when you go with that complex of a screen, you lose some of um, your detail. Even when you pull out, it becomes less obvious. So being aware of how many dots you're laying down is super important. Let me go into feathers there. I'll be interested to see what everybody's favorite characters are. All right, let's grab our C, like that. C3. I know that doesn't make sense yet, but it will, I promise. We'll grab that, and we'll delete that. C2. And as you can see, it creates a nice gradient. And the thing about this is it uses the theories, the principles, and the practicality of that old technology, but I'm applying things that they did not have necessarily the ability to do, because it would require the printer to have the registration nailed. Like if you look at old comics where the registration is off, it's off by 1/8 of an inch. So like the green will be way off. Here, I'll show you. We'll zoom in. See, like here, if we wanted to simulate a shifted plate, which we will do in the book in a few different places, what we do is we pick our layer and then we just bump it. You see, and you can see how when you move the magenta plate, it creates this effect of showing like all the edges of that being misaligned. Now let's zoom out and see what that does for the whole page. You can see like when you shift the whole plate, you get distortions all over the place that are true to analog printing techniques. Like it is all over the place, and it's consistent. And if you know, some people do this and they just move things and they don't know how or why they move. But if you know what you're doing, you know that if the magenta plate shifts on page 1, it's going to shift the same way on page 4. And same thing if it shifted on page 2, it would be the same as on page 3. So it's how the print spreads are set up with the printer dictates how they would print. I mean, it would be like, oh, this didn't print right. So now we have an adjustment to make. So like it would be the same print. Pages are printed 2 pages on a spread, 4 pages on a whole wrap. But on each impression, there's 2 pages per. So anytime you see a shift in a red, in a magenta, yellow, or cyan plate, the same misalignment will be on the page that it was shared on the same print spread. So I've seen a lot of people try to do this and do sort of a pseudo shift, like a random page in a book will have a shift, like page 1 and 16 will have different shifts, but they should have the same shift. And look, most people aren't going to care. It's not a big deal if it's off. It's just something that I'm trying to create a really immersive experience, because one thing this comic does do that, I don't know if it will get credit for, is it does comment on the genre. It comments on the history of comics. And I think it's more poignant when that exists in the proper context. And I think that the proper context is trying to display it the same way they would have a long time ago. I think that it adds validity and credence to the overall message through the aesthetic. It's a long-winded way of saying, like, I think it looks cool and I think it really adds to the story. It adds a context, really. Subtext, context. The whole 9 yards, as my father would say. Yep, we've got a light brown to do. So what that means is we do a neutral that shifts slightly to the warm side. So what we'll do is we'll grab a C2, like that. We'll grab an M2, like that. Oops. And then we'll get a Y3. And this just comes from learning printing. Like I worked in a print shop right out of college, so like I learned a lot of this stuff firsthand from running printers. And I do make different choices at different angles, and sometimes I'll move things around. I've been using more pressure tint, which is just the manual application of some of these colors, which, it adds a little bit of a more manual look. And what I like to tell people is that, like, back in the day, like at Fiction House and all those Golden Age companies, the printers had a lot of say in the coloring. It's they would just get a color guide that says make this red, and red is MY, so it's a full mixture of magenta and yellow. But sometimes you get a different brand of magenta or whatever. Ink brands have different colors. That's another thing that I think people maybe don't realize is when, in the 80s, there was a big shift at Marvel when they switched to flexographic printing. And then that was like a big to-doings because they were totally brighter colors. Hey, that's a tough one, Ethan. Good luck, man. It's a tough song to sing. Singing any Queen at karaoke takes guts. So have fun. Good luck. Oops. Back in the day, they never would go to the trouble of laying down this many screens and trying to line them up. If you see, there are multiple screens lined up here. There's the C3, this and the C4, the M3 and the M4. Like, this registration would have been a nightmare for a printer back in the day. But we've got some that we've finished. Like here's one that's finished. And these are color holds, which they did have back then, and they were only available in flat ink colors. So it would be, CMY and then any mixture of the two, whether it's CM, MY. This is 100% cyan, and then this is MY, so that's like the flat green. Yeah, we did use a flat cyan. And that's the next page. So yeah, Patrick says nothing really matters to me. I will not try to sing ever on here. And I think that we're all better for it. We're all better if I never, ever, ever sing on this channel. My wife can sing. I cannot sing. Although I did do chamber in high school, because like if you did 1 year of singing in the choir, you didn't have to do 2 years of music. So and then the midtone was M4. Yeah, that's what we did. Okay. At a certain point, I'll have these memorized, but I don't right now, so I have to look at my reference. But yeah, studying this stuff was fascinating to me. I just really enjoyed it. So, like, this is not anything that anyone in their right mind has to ever do to make comics. Like, they just don't. Trust me, they do not. I just wanted it to have a certain look and feel and context, and I'd been chasing for many, many years. Like, if you look back to some of my earliest comics, if you ever see any of the ash cans from when I was just starting out, they were uneducated attempts at this look. I'd been chasing it and chasing it and chasing it. My favorite Queen song? Oh man, I think the most underrated Queen song is Radio Gaga. So that's one of the reasons that one is a very high favorite of mine. I mean, I like all the classics, but that's one of my favorite deep cuts, I will say. Okay, we have an official ruling from Patrick that we can put up, if we so choose, our holiday decorations at this point. Arbiter of the seasons. The theme from Flash Gordon, yes, yes. He'll save every one of us. That little beep noise comes from when I picked the wrong layer. The Highlander ballad, yeah. Who wants to live forever? Don't worry. We got the gist. We know what you meant. It's no big deal. Another neutral. So we have to mix equal parts of everything. I mean, it's also just knowing color theory. I think a lot of people out there just know that they see things in color, so they think they know how to color, and that's not necessarily the case. Thanks. Tried to have a cooler blue here so it's a little softer, and then the orange. And her hair being two-toned is fun. So like depending on what angle I can create different compositions. That was part of her design was like it's like having a two-tone cape. You have options for like how it looks. So if the white, we didn't put any white there, so we're gonna have to add some. Another oversight on my part. Sports bar Ethan goes to has street tacos. What's your favorite bar food? Oh man, that's a difficult question. I eat a fair amount of bar food because where I live, the affordable places to get takeout from is mostly bars. So I know it's boring, but I do like a really good salad. I like a fish sandwich around here. Um, yeah, I mean that's probably my top two. But there's flatbreads. There's all kinds of great stuff. Put me on the spot. Oops, wrong one. Yellow. Make it green. Missed a spot. Oops, wrong layer. Yellow. 2. 3. There we go. I think we're done with that page, unless there's a color hold. We can do a color. Yeah, we've got 2 color holds to do actually. Right here. How I do color holds is I grab my selection tool. I pick out all the parts of the lines that I want held. I'm just selecting these lines. My brother's favorite thing when we were kids was he liked the potato skins. That was a pub food that he liked. All right. I've got 2 layers of line art that are multiplied on top of each other, so we have to do this in a couple of steps. So we have to delete the ones on the base layer with a white paintbrush, like this. And then what we do is we grab our top layer and we pull them out. You see those lines are gone? And then we paste them in place. Control-Shift-V, and then we go into our layer properties. It's a blending option. We go to color overlay, and in this case, I just wanted them to be white, I think. Or was it yellow? Oh, it was yellow. Yep, those. And again, it's a small effect, but what it does is it opens up this area where you see, and when it prints, you'll see this hard yellow, and it matches here, here. It's a nice thing. I actually think I want to add some white here. So what I'll do is I'll go to this yellow layer, just grab my eraser tool, and it's set to pencil, which is fine. It's too much. Oh, anyway, there was a mistake here. I'm glad we were zoomed in. This is actually his hand right here. It's his other finger. Let's see if it's here. Let's grab our flats. Grab our brush tool. Let's see if we can just go to I've got a smudgy brush tool that actually I mentioned Nate. He gave it to me. I believe he created this brush, and it gets this nice sponge technique where it creates just a nice rough edge. I've used it for many years now. He gave it to me years ago. There we go. Seeing how that lightens it up? I might actually add just a little bit up to his eye. A little bit there. No, it's too much. Too much. Got carried away. I think that'll work. I do think I need to look at lightening this jacket. Nah, it looks fine. I might lighten this one. See, when you look at it, you look at the different. Let's see what we can do as far as. Is this 222? If this was 222, then that's the lightest we can make it. Yeah, I think it was. I think that's the lightest we can make it. Hey, thanks, Ethan. Oh, we got cat talk. Hold on. I missed a comment. My cat Jasper has been swatting the back of my feet like Crypto nipping at Superman's heels. Settle down now, Jasper. There's another. I think that was it for color holds. We consider doing one here. We can see what it looks like. These little black lines. And place, blending options, color overlay. Just want to see what white looks like. We might not do it. I just want to see what it looks like. Yeah. I actually kind of like the original one, so we'll just move it. But there, that page is in color now, in our retro classic color with our paper texture and everything. Oh, I missed a spot. It does happen sometimes. Just using the blue cyan pressure tints for a quick once over on those. And sometimes it's just, I'll just miss something. That's saved. Oops. This has to go into the screened file. Then I usually save a copy just as a backup. And then we can get started on the next page. So the next page is page 12, and this is where you can see the tone colors that we did. What we need to do is we need to duplicate the background layer. That way we have a background layer to grab onto. We merge these layers, and then we hide that layer. We need a cyan, magenta, and yellow layer. I just label them C, M, and Y. And they are set to multiply, multiply, multiply. And you can see this, it looks okay, but this is not how I would ever color a finished comic. There would be far more nuance to it. But let's bring our paper texture over. And see, someone who doesn't know what the end result is, they might see something with the paper texture on it and go, oh, that looks fine. Oh, definitely, yes. I think you'll just have to resize from scratch. Yeah, that's probably the case. I saw it as a difficult challenge to cosplayers. And then I gave them the easiest one ever with just the spongemen that have basically a giant shower sponge on top of their heads. But what I like to do is we will remove that. And you can see where the flats are. And we'll just start. I like to see some progress. So what I'll do is I'll actually start with some of... Oh, no worries. I'm sure everyone will be excited to see it whenever you get it done. Excuse me. C4. Hide the white. There's definitely stuff I would redraw because some of these pages I drew almost a year ago. That's how long this project is taking. And see, when people used to tell me they liked flat colors in comics, then they'd show me a modern flat color. To me, it didn't look right. It was missing this texture. Hey, have a good night, Patrick. Yeah, the 24-hour comic is a difficult task for sure. I've never done it myself, um, but I actually do think I could crank out a comic like that's designed to be done quickly, pretty fast. Like I've had to do 18 pages of layouts in a day before. If I could just do that and then do just some quick lettering on top of it, I guess technically that would be a 24-hour comic. It would not be a good comic. Like the writing might be good, but it would just be it would be an exercise. I don't know if I would consider it like a finished work or anything. I've been watching the Robert Altman Wild Buffalo Bill movie with Paul Newman. I'd never seen it before. Spot colors are fun. That's actually another technique you can use to make a comic really easily is just to do spot colors, and a lot of undergrounds used to do that, which was pretty cool back in the day. Or you could do two colors. You could just do magenta and yellow. That was another thing that you would see. Or they would just pick one or two colors. That was a way that comics were made for a long time. Use what you have. I mean, that's one of the amazing things about the resilience of comics, um, in my opinion, at least. October. Oh, this October. I thought you were saying October 24th. My mistake. I read it wrong. Take a look at just amping up the yellow a little bit and just see how it looks. It's too yellow. It's okay. But I do think we will use it here. Did one of the 4-panel manga things. The surprise theme was your OC goes home. Hey, that's actually a fun idea for a comic. Your original character goes on a job interview. I think that's a fun idea. Because it's hard to draw some of that stuff. Like just stuff in an office, that's hard to draw. Yeah, we'd need like a holiday for doing a 24-hour comic, and then it would be like, do I really want to stay up for 24 hours to have to go back to work the next day just to do a comic book? Like, I love comics, but that's asking a lot. One of the things that is so great about this coloring technique to me is that because of the limited colors, it is required to make design-based decisions and not just illustrative ones. And that kind of helped define the look of old comics. So work with what you got. So what color is that? I believe that's CY3. I'll give it a shot. I think it's CY3. As I go along, I do have a few formula guides from some of the different printers I mentioned earlier. But the further I go along, the less I have to look at it, just because I've memorized the stuff. And then Y3, I believe, where's that two? Nope, that's it. I wanted a warmer water behind the cool hair and everything. Because if you just put cyan behind her, it's going to look weird. Yeah, and these were all just C3, I believe. And then the glimmers on the glass are intentionally there. Like these are not realistic, these two here, just to show you, but they're there to frame them. Oop, I missed a spot. Missed a spot. The other thing you have to do as you're doing this is keep your layers correct, which can be tough. Now see, this was just a crosshatch pattern that I put on here. And I considered adding a color to this, but it would just get even muddier with all the dots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that and just have the shadow done with cyan. Use a little pressure tint to fill it out a little bit, but as you can see, that's more than enough to denote the fact that it is in shadow. A little extra there, a little extra there, a little on his tummy. Missed a spot there. Now, some people just go straight into doing their coloring, but as I just explained earlier, I just find that having those spaces defined saves a ton of time in the long run. It makes it a two-step coloring process, but it does save a lot of time. These are all the same color, so we can just, because we had those things selected and already picked out, just go fill them in. And the beauty of another thing that is beautiful of this is like it's such a forgiving technique. Mistakes are almost welcome. So like if you miss a little spot and you don't want to, like when you're looking at the book after you've printed it out and you're looking for every little mistake, those sorts of things just add to the flavor, I think. Cool. I will check it out. Yeah, thank you. I mean, here, I'll show you what it looks like when you just remove one of the plates. Here it is with no yellow. You see how that looks with just that? And here's how it looks with no magenta, and that's just blue and yellow. No cyan. And this. Oops. A little less cyan. We have Colonel Feather's Air Pack, which is just pure red. And the only way to get pure red, since we work in 4 colors, is to mix 100% magenta and 100% yellow. And then, oops, I forgot the magenta for that part down there. And then what I do is we go to our white here, grab this here. Add that little bit of rim lighting that you can see I drew in there. It just helps separate it from the background. And what I'll do is if we want to paint a little bit in there, we'll grab our yellow, just make it a little glimmery. All right. 100%. One of the gags that is not described in detail is that Colonel Feathers is always moving his little badges around. Um, at some point, I'll have a visual gag of that, but I just wanted to see if people would notice it if they moved without being like, "Hey, he moves his little badges around." Um, but we'll find out. Well, I think I'm running out of gas here. I got the whole first panel, I think, done. Nope, we missed this little top. Oops. We got about a full page worth done tonight, so that's pretty good. Let me just check what things are. A highlight in there. I don't think there is. Oh, that was, yeah, because it was pushed to the background. I'm just looking at those pillows. Like, can I put a glimmer on those? Oh, and I do want to add just the. Forgot to add the shadow to this gear. And we're working on this for every page. This is the look for the whole book that we promised, and we're gonna work our way through. So, thanks everybody for hanging out tonight. I hope everybody found it not too boring hearing about all the different formulas and everything else. But this is kind of what I like to do. Hey, have a good night, Martha. It was great to see you. Thanks everybody for coming out tonight. I know we had last week off. So thanks for coming to hang out, and I hope everybody has a great week and then has a wonderful weekend, and I hope to see you next Wednesday at the same bet. No, I can't use their sign off. At the same time, same place as Live Drawing is every week on all the platforms. So thanks again, everybody, and have a good night.